طيب إن شاء الله. Very good ما شاء الله. لا, you're doing nab. Nab. It's not nab. Nab. نضرب. لا, nab. 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 Pass. Okay. Continue. Oh, thank you. Very good. Very good. ما شاء الله. ما شاء الله. Very good. جزاك الله خير. والله very good. ما شاء الله. ما شاء الله. Very good سارة. ما شاء الله. الله يفتح عليك. والله very good. ما شاء الله. ما شاء الله. ما شاء الله. جميل والله. سعاد فتح. أيه. I think point here being that for this you're going to need a lot of practice. I myself, Allah, very honestly, admittedly, it's on camera, it's on YouTube. I work on this almost every other day. I work on this. It's one of those very difficult ones. I still have one towards the very end. I am not perfecting it, but I know when I get it. Sometimes it comes straight, and I know it. At times I get it wrong. So it's Hassan, just one more time. One more time. أيوة. Very good, mashallah. Your very first one was off. This one was very good, mashallah. Osama, one more time. لا, you're doing قلقلة again. You're doing نضرب. لا, فقل نضرب. أيوة, الله يفتح عليك. Very good, very good. طيب, let's move on, inshallah. Today we have these, inshallah, attributes called الشدة, الرخاوة, and the in-between. The in-between. There's an Arabic term for it, but in English it was the in-between. So, what is a shidda? A shidda literally means strength. Okay. Now, technically, what this means is that there should be discontinuation of the sound. Discontinuation of the sound when you pronounce the letter. Okay. And again, mnemonics for our shuyukh that always come up with these. It's called أجدك تطبق, or أجدك تقطب, or no, this is not qalqala. This subhanallah. There's another one that they use. I have it here. أجد قط بكت. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to put different ones because you might be encountering some of them, but they all have these letters basically. Alif, 8 letters. Alif, Jim, Dal, Kaf, Ta, Qaf, Ta, Ba. I remember it usually أجدك تطبق. Yeah, discontinuation and توقف. Now this, I'm telling you that this is discontinuation of the sound. So what was al-jahr? Al-jahr that we talked about. Yeah, but so what's the difference? That one is the air. This is the sound. Okay? You can imagine there's overlap between some letters. You can almost imagine that there will be some letters where you have to kind of do them both. So, but and we're gonna practice this, and you're gonna see how you could have a jahr but not a shidda, and all these different combinations. I have a table, inshallah, that I'll share with you in a moment. But keep in mind of these letters. So what does it mean? What it means is that when I say it, there shouldn't be any sound that comes other than the letter itself. Okay? This is not just about flow of air, but just even no more sound. It's just one sound. That's what it is. So, for example, the very end that you end. We said always to test the letter, you put an alif before it, and then the letter that you're testing is sukoon. So is what you end with. Is what you end with. There is no there is no. It's just one sound, one letter that comes out. So with Jim, aj, aj, aj. Okay. With the dal, ad, ad. With the kaf, ak. Why are we doing k portion? Is the air, is the hams. It's the hams portion. But the letter itself should be ending ak. Ak. The k portion is the hams. But the letter itself is just ak. It's just the makhraj itself. There is no extension, there is no mad, there is nothing that comes out of it. Ta. At. That portion is the hams. But it's at. So you'll notice this ta and kaf, even when we create a table later on, you're going to see them distinguished later on. Qaf. Aqo. There is no aqo. There isn't. It's just aqo. That's the nature of this letter, the way it comes out. Ta. Ato. Ato. Okay? Ba. Ab. Ab. You notice, for those of you that already know qalqala, qutb jadd is already in it. You know, because that's the way it comes out. It's just that with qutb jadd, when we do the qalqala, you don't go all the way, kind of stop partial. We'll talk about that when we do qalqala later on, inshallah. Keep this attribute in mind. There is another attribute which is similar. So we just did shidda. We're going to do rakhawa. Rakhawa is the opposite of this. So when we talk about the letters of rakhawa, there are some letters where technically there will be a continuation of the sound as you pronounce the letter. And so we're going to talk about these. These are the remaining, if you will. So what we have is few letters that are shidda, few letters that are called in between. Whatever is remaining becomes the rakhawa. Okay. So what is this in between thing? The in between is called either at-tawassut or at-tabayyun. Tabayyun means something in between in Arabic. So when you come to these letters, it's going to be between the softness of rakhawa, and it's going to be between the shidda or the strength of the letters that we just talked about, ajiduka tutabbiq. Okay? These letters that we know of are called lin umar. And subhanallah, look at our scholars. I mean, they're very, very creative, wallah, very creative. Because you have the shidda of Umar, right? Umar is shadid. It was known. And you have rakhawa, softness of others maybe. So they wanted kind of to come up with something in between. So they don't want to kind of make Umar so loose that it becomes rakhi. So they said, Lin ya Umar. You know, they came up with this attribute. But the letters that apply are only these 5. Lin, Umar. So when we do these, we're going to have to kind of hold on to it, not just say al and then stop. We're not going to do al, just like aqo. You know, we did aqo. Here we're not going to say al and then stop. We're going to say al. We're going to hold on to it. Al, an, a. You see a? Based on al-jahr before, remember when we did al-jahr? When we said it has to be a, kind of a, without any flow of air. Well, here it tells us there is another attribute that will allow us to extend it a little bit, yet try to seal. So you try to seal, but you'll have to do a little bit of the sound continuation. So as opposed to just saying ya'lamun, we don't want to say ya'lamun, because if it was jahr with shidda, we would have said ya'lamun and without kind of any. But now we're allowed to do a little bit because it's lin umar. So we're going to say ya'lam, a little bit of it. Ya'lamun, the sound, not the air, not ya, that's air. But here, ya'lamun, that small portion of ayn is because of lin umar. Okay. So similarly, when we do the meme and the ra, the reason it did not come crisp, just one letter when we did earlier, and we don't say tahum, because that would have been if it was shidda. But now it's umar. It's not so loose that it becomes anzartahum. It's not dhar. You don't have the leg, but it's in between. Anzartahum. So you hold on to it that much. This is a highly technical kind of thing, and it needs kind of somebody watching as to how you do it, and somebody evaluating you, because you might capture a wrong one and just continue on the wrong path. So you need somebody to kind of do this with you. That's lin umar. So what we would like is just to keep this in mind. It's all about the length that you hold on to these letters. It's the length. So when we do أجدك تطبق these أحرف الشدة, we're going to, for example, in this word يؤمنون, we're not going to say يؤمنون. I'm not going to say you. The A has to be one of the shiddah. So we're going to say يؤمنون. I'm going to make sure I stop there. يؤمنون. It becomes even more evident when it has a shiddah. Because a shiddah is basically what? It's two letters where one of them became a sukoon and the second one has a haraka. So for example, when we say ذلك اليوم الحق, for example, ذلك اليوم الحق. Why is this gap here? To make sure that the qaf is just completely sealed, because it's a double qaf. Because حق. ذلك اليوم الحق. Okay, so there is even that gap where there is no sound whatsoever, and then comes the qaf very strong. So that's when it has a sukoon, it's evident. When it has a shidda, it's even more evident. Okay, so another word here is ba. تبت يدا أبي لهب وتب. I want to make sure I completely do only one and not b. Okay. B, no, b, and I close it just like that. So this is for shidda. When we talk about lin umar, is for example on the word خلق السماوات والأرض. You see that and not just I'm not saying but that portion is because it's lin umar. Okay. Then you have this, the remaining are going to be one of these. And remember the ghain earlier, under jahr, what do you expect from jahr? Completely sealing it, right? So you would expect for us to say, if it was completely sealed without continuation of the sound, that you would expect it something along the lines of and you try to just seal it and no continuation. But this is from the letters of rakhawa. So it has to have continuation of sound. So when we say, we are going to say this sound, continuation of ghain, continuation, is because of rakhawa. Difficult. It is difficult. And you can imagine, here we're very focused, knowing that it's going to be either shidda or lin umar or rakhawa. In the qira'ah, there's just so much to worry about. And so to focus on these details, this is what distinguishes many of the qurra. Now you listen to Al-Husari, for example. You see how amazing his qira'ah is. Or Al-Minshawi. Amazing qurra. Because a lot of these details are actually captured in there. So you want to shorten the letter as much as possible when you have shidda. أجدك تطبق. On lin umar, a little bit lengthened. But on this, really lengthened. Okay. تفضل. لا القلقلة is different. قلقلة is when you come and then, haven't covered القلقلة yet, but قلقلة is when the letter comes, you actually do not completely go to the makhraj. You just barely touch and come back. So for example, let's go maybe. Maybe I have a couple of examples here. Yeah, مثلا. I want to capture kind of an example too. Yeah, you see, ba here. This is a qalqala, right? If it was no qalqala, if it was just a fatha here, if it was not a sukoon, I would say qabala, qaba, qaba, ba. So I'll make sure that the ba is completely ba. But because when it's qalqala, I'm not going to say ba. I'm going to say b, quick. So instead of aba, it's ab. So that's what qalqala is, that you make it a short touch, not the complete, the two lips coming to the makhraj, but barely touching and then going back. That's what qalqala is. It's just a slight vibration, slight touch, and then that's what qalqala by definition is. Okay. There you go. Yes. Yeah. نعم. No, no. Yeah, we're not doing a nabr of raising the voice, but there is a shiddah and there is a qalqala on it. Yeah. تبت يدا أبي لهب وتب وتب هذه بدون رفع الصوت to emphasize النبر. Yes. بس هي لأنها عليها فتحة مش ظاهرة كثير. Not as evident. طيب. Yes. Which one? Yeah, but anytime you stop, it turns into a sukun. Anytime in the Arabic language. For, you mean for the second ayah? No, for the second ayah, there will be just a qalqala. ما أغنى عنه ماله وما كسب. كسب. That's just a qalqala. تبت يدا أبي لهب وتب. وتب as opposed to كسب. Yeah. طيب. Any questions before we proceed? طيب. For just comparing, you can imagine these are the just the two attributes we did from last week to this week. So we said in hams we have فحثه شخص سكت. We have all these letters, and now we said that you can see that there are some some of these letters that are, let's say, in jahr. So the letters that are not here are going to be in jahr, because they are. It's either you have the hams or the jahr. So all those letters that are there. So you have them in al-jahr, but then they are part of a-shiddah. Do you see this? So for example, jim is not here, so jim is going to be here. So jim is going to have an attribute of al-jahr and also an attribute of a-shiddah. Is that okay? Lam, for example, lam is going to be al-jahr, but it's going to have an attribute of al-tawassut, which is lin umar. Is that okay? Noon, for example, noon is al-jahr, but it's going to be التوسط, the in-between. So for example, the, أذ, okay? The is not shidda, is not التوسط, it's actually الرخاوة. It's al-jahr and al-rakhawa. So you have different combinations, a given letter. So I try to kind of come up with something that you could easily visualize. So for example here, we know that al-hams are فحثه شخص سكت. Okay? And we know that al-jahr are all the letters except for فحثه شخص سكت. Is that okay? So you have all of these. Now, we know that الشدة, ignore what's in between here. الشدة are أجدك تطبق, are these 8 letters that we talked about today. We know that the in between are لن عمر. And we know that الرخاوة are everything else. Okay, so when you try to kind of now break it down into, we know that hams is all of these. Okay, now we know that in this ashidda, if it's all ajituka tutabbiq, and then from al-jahr it's alif, jim, dal, qaf, ta, ba, but then kaf and ta are part of hams. So what I'm trying to tell you is these different letters are going to have different attribute combinations. And we just talked about only 2 of these attributes. So when we add qalqala is another layer. When we add a safir is another layer, and so on. So when we look at the different examples, inshallah, what we would like to think of are these different combinations. So and that's going to be the key. So for example, here for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when he said, and going back to the examples that we did, وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ. So what I want to keep in mind is sheen, for example. So I'll look at it, and so sheen is going to be what? Sheen is going to be one of those attributes that is, right? Rakhawa and hams, right? Actually, it shouldn't be here, right? It shouldn't be here. That's my error. shouldn't be here. So rakhawa and hams. So what does that mean when I come to practice it though? When I come to practice it, I know that hams is flow of air, and I know that rakhawa is flow of the sound. So I want to make sure that there is flow of air and flow of sound when I say the sheen. So I go back now. And so when we read this, this is one of those letters. Later on, it has another attribute called the tafashi, that it actually spreads itself out. So you start small and it's as if it spreads itself. So when وَمَا يَشْعُرُونَ, because it has the air and so the breath as well as the sound, on this it's going to be very evident, unlike another letter that might have only the hams but not the rakhawa portion to it. So it's going to be one of those that you need to, this is where it becomes, you become highly technical to in its very difficult here. Tajweed is not easy. Now we know the definition of إعطاء كل حرف حقه, each letter to be given its own due appropriate attribute and yes. Yes, yeah. But you know what? That's what Quran is. It's not easy. I was talking to somebody by the end, subhanAllah, this is documented here. One of the proofs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that this is haqq is really tajweed. Because a human being cannot come up with all these rules that they actually fit and they are consistent throughout the Quran. You can't. A human being cannot come up with this. This is one proof that the Quran is haqq. Impossible that a human being could sit down, and we sit to plan events all the time, and we do all sorts of errors. So imagine this is a book that has been documented and it's consistent throughout the Quran and its rules. It's amazing, subhanallah. Yeah. But let's just take, for example, so a number of these, inshallah, that I would like to visit based on this. So I want to practice these. Lin Umar is one of those difficult ones, very difficult. Because when we come, for example, to say, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. So, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ, right? We're going to say, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ. Now, this lam, if it's shiddah, how would I say it? Forget that it's Lin Umar for now. It's the in-between we know. But if it was shiddah, this is how we practice this. So we would say, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ. You see that? إِنَّ الَّذِينَ. That's if it's shiddah, but it's not. If it was completely rakhawa, we would say, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ. That's just continuation of sound. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ. And we don't do that. So what we need to do is find the in-between. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ. So the sound, you're holding to the lam, but not extending it too much. While in shiddah, you're actually, there's a silence, a moment of silence, if you will. يُؤْمِنُونَ. Because it's the hamza. So likewise, inshallah, now, in these next few minutes, what I would like to do is just to practice this based on what we know. So ta, what are the attributes for ta? Hams and there you go. This is why this helps, right? So the ta, we have I'm sorry? Hams is فحثه شخص سكت, right? Yeah, it cannot be both. Yeah, thank you. And it's shiddah. Okay? So when we come to, when we say the ta here at the very end, that's why, we say, if you remember earlier, we said, I'm going to touch on this earlier. So when we say, فَلَمَّا أَضَاءَتْ, why is that small little gap? At, because it has shiddah. Is that okay? Because we said with shiddah, you just lose some, and then you just mention it. You just say it for after that small little gap. فَلَمَّا أَضَاءَتْ مَا حَوْلَهُ ذَلِكَ الْيَوْمُ الْحَقُّ. Why is qaf like this? Because it's shiddah. Because of the harf al-shiddah. Okay. So let's do this now. Maybe what I would like to do in these is let's do them together, inshallah. Okay? In these next few minutes, inshallah. وما يشعرون. On this one here, سكت فحثه شخص, right? So we have hams. What's the other in terms of the attributes for today? Yeah. هي سكت فحثه شخص, right? It's hams. But it's not going to be شدة, okay? Because شدة is أجدك تطبق. So صاد is not one of these. So صاد is, and it's not one of لن عمر. So it has to be one of the رخاوة. So when we talk about صاد, it's going to be hams and رخاوة. So in other words, you're going to lengthen the sound, but you try to as much as possible, and you're going to put air with it. So the ta and the صاد have a very similar kind of attribute. So when we say this now, وين احنا؟ هنا it's hams as well as رخاوة. So مصلحون, مصلحون, that's very similar to a sheen kind of thing. يشعرون, مصلحون, مصلحون. Okay, very, very good. فاء, let's go to the فاء. فاء فحثه شخص سكت. So it's part of hams and it's part of رخاوة. So مفلحون, مف. So just make sure that it's not just air that comes out, but you want to emphasize that fa with strength. مفلحون, مفلحون. Okay, is that okay? طيب. الحاء. Let's think about حاء. سكت فحثه شخص. So it's hams في الرخاوة. إنما نحن. Okay, you see this this additional part that we're نحن, not just air, not just نحن. You want to emphasize that ha in there because it has to go continuously with that مخرج. Okay, maybe inshallah now I think we're ready to be measured. Let's read this surah together in this few minutes inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Not رجيم, رجي. Okay, جيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح. حاء رخاوة as well as hams. فتح at the very end. Okay, let's do this again inshallah. Again صاد, remember رخاوة as well as hams. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا. ما شاء الله, very good. فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر. Again, this one here. ما شاء الله, this portion here. So let's do this again. فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر. ما شاء الله, very good. The ending here has to be clear. Again, it's a ha, right? So let's go here. It's a ha. So سكت فحثه, again رخاوة. So notice this box just for picturing. Anytime you see that in this box, it means you have to lengthen with the air as well as the sound. واستغفره, فره at the end. أيوة. فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر. ما شاء الله. إنه كان توابا. Wow, here. How do we handle this? توابا. What is this? What is this rule on this? What is this rule? Help. I'm sorry? Okay, very good. Multiple attributes here. So first of all, in terms of, let's go back to the wow. I'm seeing how we will say the wow here because it has a dhamma. So let's shadda. But let's see here. Wow is not hams, it's going to be one of the jahr, right? So if it is jahr, we should be just saying simply, kind of sealing it, right? Taw, 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 right? Taw, tawwab, tawwab, tawwab. Is that okay? Taw, not taw, not taw, because taw is what? There is that lengthening of the sound. Okay, so so what we would like to do is it's jahr. Okay, so there it's jahr along with rakhawa. Taw. Now, so we're gonna do this jahr and rakhawa plus. But there's one thing. Oh, thank you. Who said nabr? Very good. The nabr. The nabr. Very good. MashaAllah. So that's why you listen to Sheikh Muhib now. You're gonna see how he recites on this ayah. He loves this surah. Frequently he recites this. So when we say tawwaba here, this is one with a shadda, a waw with a shadda preceded by a fatha. That's the second circumstance of nabr that we talked about. So when you recite this at the very end, not just tawwab, no, tawwaba, he does that. You raise your voice a little bit. So let's do this. فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْهُ إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. Tawwaba. That's nabr. Okay. So inshallah we have here rakhawa, we have jahr. So rakhawa indicating to us that the sound would be elongated a little bit. Jahr telling us to, as much as possible, no air. Okay, so إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. Okay, so that's inshallah azza. Now let's do Surah Quraysh together بمشيئة الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لإيلاف قريش. The yeah, okay. قريش ما شاء الله. إيلافهم رحلة Thank you. Same thing here. صيف. Okay. Again. فليعبدوا رب هذا البيت الذي أطعمهم من جوع وآمن من خوف. ما شاء الله. The ending here, very important with the fa, that we do this. Yeah, سكت فحثه شخص, right? So there is supposed to be a hams, and it's one of those rakhawa as well. So خوف. Yeah. MashaAllah. So let's do this here. ألم نشرح لك. Very good. Again. MashaAllah. Beautiful. طيب, next. We have here مد الصلة. We'll do kubra here. Okay, so we'll do a 4 inshallah. Yeah. يحسب أن ماله أخلده. ما شاء الله. طيب. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Okay. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم. Watch this again. الرحمن الرحيم. Can you repeat this? ما شاء الله. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. the hukm on the ya? What's the hukm on the ya? Very good, mashallah. Very good, Hassan. Very good. So it's one of those that's supposed to be jahr, right? So we try to seal as much as, just like raib, right? But it has a shadda now. So it has to be very evident because it has a shadda, okay? And as far as these are concerned, it's going to be rakhawa, okay? So what we're going to, we're trying to seal because of al-jahr, okay? But there is also rakhawa in that the voice could be lengthened a little bit. So iyak, that's iyaka na'bud, okay? So let's do this inshallah. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. ما شاء الله, beautiful. اهدنا الصراط ما شاء الله. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير غي the ya. Watch out, the ya. غي جهر, جهر on the ya. غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Why are we doing this with the lam? Nabr is one thing. The other one is Lin Umar. Part of Lin Umar, the lam. So you don't want to say ولا الضالين. I've heard people exaggerate the lam here. Okay, you don't want to leave that gap, but at the same time you don't want to do it muhmala as if it's rakhawa. So you don't want to do it غير المغضوب